Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Jump Podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Peter.
And my name is Ashton.
Ashton, we missed you last week. Welcome back.
Did you though?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
Yeah, a lot.
I watched the beginning of the podcast.
Right.
Just the beginning.
No.
Because you said, over the last 3 months, if we could keep anything, we'd keep Emma and get rid of Ashton.
Well,
and then you said...
Hang on, who said that? You said...
Peter said
Right,
it.
Yeah,
thank you.
I said
But you said, don't tell anyone. Nobody tell her.
So it's
guess
my-
what? I
it's my
found
fault,
out.
is it?
no, because you know that song, don't you always seem to know that you don't know what you got till it's gone. That's how
Paradise, put up a parking.
That's why we
Uh-huh.
missed you so much. Is I thought if I got rid of anything, I'd get rid of Ashton, keep Emma. But actually, having got rid of you temporarily last week, didn't know what I'd got till it was gone.
Careful,
so we really
Peter.
missed you.
You might injure yourself backpedaling that fast.
You're filling that hole real quickly, I see.
Well, all I'm saying is
Yeah?
yeah.
screw Emma. That's what I'm saying.
Whoa, hold
Goodness,
on.
Just because she's not in the room,
Yeah.
like, do you have
It's
like
not one or
object
the other,
permanence
like, it's
issues
just-
where
Yeah, no.
she's not here,
She
she
does
can't
not exist.
It's not a
It
problem.
can't hurt her. No one tell Emma that I said that.
No, nobody
No.
tell.
She probably
the
won't
Jungle
watch the
Squad.
podcast, so it's probably fine.
I don't think she has a phone or an internet access, really.
No,
She
she's
just
a
sort of-
bear.
She just lives here in the office.
Yeah.
I mean, she sits in front of 3 computers every day, so
She
she
does.
can very easily just...
But it's hard to use a computer when your pose is just there.
yeah. True. It's quite difficult to use a mouse and keyboard, I guess, to get to the podcast.
Stupid little arms.
Whoa.
Anyway, this is our video game
Video game
podcast.
podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We're glad that you're here and we hope you're doing well. Each and every week, we are sponsored by a very real video game sponsor. Ashton has the ad read in front of her. What we
I
got
do.
this week, Ashton?
I was contacted while I was away by a very big company you may have heard of called Xbox.
Right.
What? No, what is that?
Xbox. They make some kind of game thing. But they made, this week was released, the Xbox mini fridge.
Oh.
I don't know if you heard of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what an Xbox
And it sold
is,
out
so-
really quickly. And obviously they were like, oh man, what else can we put out there to stop, to give people what they want? An Xbox mini fridge. Well, there's none left. So what they've produced, part of the Xbox kitchen range, is the Egg Box.
Now, I've heard of the Egg Box. And that's them, you're
That's
saying?
them, yeah.
Wow, they've been
Invented
doing
the
that
Egg
for a
Box.
long
The Egg
time,
Box.
haven't they?
It's
Well,
a classic.
It's the Xbox Egg Box.
Oh,
see.
I
The
only know
Xbox.
the
Xbox.
Xbox.
The Xbox.
Wow, is it
Is
like Nintendo because they were off of the 1800s because they used to make like Hanafuda cards, didn't they? Like playing cards. So the company's over 100 years old.
Really,
Yeah.
Nintendo? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that like Xbox?
Can you not talk
Because
about
they've been.
Nintendo because we're talking about Xbox?
Sorry,
right now?
all right.
Yeah, that's
well,
not
I
very good. We're
was
doing
bringing
an
it
ad
around.
read.
They'll get
I'm bringing
really
it
upset
around.
about the
I'm
X.
bringing it around.
Right.
Is that the same case with Xbox because they've been around, doing Xboxes
For about
for a
250
really
years or
long
something.
time? Yeah.
No. Basically, you know how they didn't invent the fridge when they brought out the
Right.
They
Xbox
didn't
Mini
invent the fridge.
Sure. No, they
So-
invented the mini fridge, though, surely.
I don't think so.
I've never seen a fridge that small or convenient.
That's true.
Or that green.
It's perfect for
That's
me.
true. Yeah, it's
Could
normal
live in it.
size.
It's a 2-story apartment.
Yeah.
Too cold, though.
Only it's not real, and I apologise for the horrible.
So
Oh, what?
Xboxes have been this conspiracy.
Xbox is not real.
Xboxes aren't real.
There's never been an Xbox.
That's
But
no
what
such
have I been
thing as an
keeping my
Xbox.
eggs in?
What is it?
An Xbox.
If you go home
Okay.
and check your eggs
not
where
there.
they are they just loose on the side?
It's an object permanence
Yeah.
issue, I think.
Yeah.
It's just been a delusion.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
It's
It's
not
just
real.
slowly fading away.
Yeah.
I think.
If you're not careful, you'll fade away too if you get too caught up in it.
What?
They'll bring you out of the Matrix.
Are you threatening me?
They'll bring you out of the Matrix.
Don't
if
feel
you
so
keep
good.
questioning it, Mr. Stark.
Mr. Stark.
Wow. Bombs being dropped early on in the podcast here. We are not sponsored by Eggs Boxes. We are, of course, sponsored by wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump, where for as little as $1, you can ask questions on this podcast. We have loads of other tiers available as well. We implore you to go and check them out. Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. Peter's just making
Just
it red.
hit the microphone
Sorry.
there.
Just
punched
Biff.
it.
Striking.
If you're listening at home and not looking on video.
But we are also sponsored by another one as well.
They call TripleJump.gg.
Wow.
Hello everyone! As well as our extremely real and totally not fictitious in any way sponsor, we're officially partnered with PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo to sell their codes through our own website, TripleJump.gg.
Here you can get everything from topping up your digital wallets to PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live Gold, Xbox Game Pass and Nintendo Switch Online subscriptions, as well as Minecraft Mine Coins. Mine Coins, they'll be your coins any minute.
Nice one, Peter.
Oh, thanks very much.
It's 100% legitimate, directly supports us, and provides you with the delightful digital currencies you're going to buy anyway. Visit TripleJump.gg to browse our full stock.
TripleJump.gg. This is a real sponsor. It's time for our first question, which you can barely read because we've got issues with our printer
Just
where
dancing.
this is supposed to be highlighted in yellow and it's come out in black.
Yeah,
because
it's really
like,
it's
hey,
sort of spooky Halloween.
Yeah.
what's
Yes.
that? You've run out of your yellow cartridge.
My
That's
colour's-
okay. We've
my
got plenty
colour's
of
fine
black
then.
left.
Yeah, how
we'll
about
use
we
that
highlight in a
instead.
fashion that completely obscures all the text underneath it?
My
Yeah.
colour's fine. The
Well,
blue's
The
perfect.
blue's fine. It's because we run out of yellow ink.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's, anyway, this is from Johanna, or possibly Johanna if it's not our
If it's our Joe, it's one of our
Joe.
one of our Discord mods.
Yeah,
Thank you, Joe,
but
for
we've
your
got no
work.
surname. What kind of feelings do you usually go trough when starting a brand new game? There's a typo.
I
What-
fixed it on mine.
Oh, did you?
I was really
cheers.
confused.
Thanks for fixing it on ours. What kind of feelings do you usually go through when starting a brand new game? I, for example, can get easily overwhelmed with all the new information I need to take in, so that leads to me procrastinating before booting up the game for the first time. Some sort of fear of the new, I guess. Well, thank you, Johanna/Johanna.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Sean.
Joe. I have touched on this in the past couple of podcasts now. I've gone through a real change. I don't know when it happened, but I only realized it recently. I've gone through a real change where I used to be a huge fan of open world games. It was like my favorite genre or, mechanic or feature of a game. I love my Bethesda RPGs, for example. But now I just find them overwhelming. And or especially if they're filled to the brim with, map markers and little side quests and, collect all of these flowers and, you got to do, and there's all these sites to go and visit and log in your diary. It's just too much for me at the moment. And I'm sure, a time will come again where that's exactly what I need. But right now, all I want to do is play linear games that are just going to take me on a nice trip through a focused story. I don't have to go off on various offshoots. The game I've been playing this week, which we'll get to in the next section, this brand new section coming up.
Orcs Must Die.
Orcs
4.
Must Die 4. It's a very linear game. No, but I've been playing a game that is very much focused. It's semi-open, but it's not an open world. I believe that's how it was described, actually, in the promotional period of the game. It's open, but it's not an open world. Okay, what does that mean? But in a kind of similar vein, because generally open world games have this as well, I don't really like ability trees and lots of different stats and numbers. I don't want to have to worry about that when I'm playing a game. Whether or not it's an open world game or a linear one, I don't really want to have to manage a load of stats. I know some people really like that for RPG reasons. You can create your own character with various strengths and weaknesses. And I'm okay with it in a sense, but I'd kind of prefer it to be a bit like, like in Oblivion at the start when you choose a star sign, and you choose 7 abilities, and I prefer to just kind of make a base character, and then things maybe just level up naturally as I do certain tasks. If I keep picking logs, yeah, exactly. If I keep doing that, my skill just happens to go up. I don't want to have to spend points and stuff and worry about, am I balancing this all right? Am I going to screw myself over by not investing enough in my health or whatever?
One of the worst ones for that I found in recent gaming is Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the skill,
There's a lot.
like spider's
Yeah.
web that they'd created, and the fact that they even implemented a thing where it's just hold square for us to just randomly assign you some points,
Yeah.
because you don't know what you're going to do and we don't know what you're going to do, so we'll just do it for
Our
you.
player analytical data suggests that you won't use this complicated system
Yes.
we've built, but we're going to keep it anyway.
Yeah.
And we're going to just give you a button you can press to let
Press
us
square
do
to
it.
use.
Yeah.
Pay £5 and we'll apply the skills for you. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, don't even worry about
We
it.
got this. We got this.
Well, I was going to say something that also frustrated me was Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where you had two characters who it would force you to switch between based on main quest missions. Some of them would be him, and some of them would be her. Their names are gone from my memory.
Jacob
and
Fry is the last
Felicity.
name. Felicity Fry.
No, I don't know.
Elizabeth? They were
Yeah,
always
maybe
they were always
Elizabeth.
called Elizabeth.
Fry, and
I'll Google it.
it's something. Yeah, it's something like shortened.
Yeah.
They're
like,
the Rooks,
like Vicky,
aren't they?
but not Vicky.
Vicky.
Lizzie.
Yeah, like Lizzie
know.
Fry or something.
But you had those two characters, and you had to switch between them based on certain missions. Some missions allowed you to choose who you wanted to be, but you had to level up those two characters separately, which I found really annoying. I can understand why. Like, it makes
Evie.
sense. Evie.
Evie, that's
There
it.
you go. It makes sense, I guess, if you think about the actual world. Like, just because Jacob goes out and like gets a load of experience, Evie shouldn't necessarily then be equally as powerful as him. But I just, you invest some points in a character, and you're like, oh yeah, I really like how this guy's turning out, and then it'll be like, oh, you're playing as Evie now, and I'm like, and she can't do anything because I've not been looking after her.
I did that a bit with Origins as well, where you played as, I can't remember his name, as his wife, and there was like a couple of missions as his
Evie.
wife.
Bayek?
Bayek's wife, yeah.
Yeah.
I think she was called Aya. And you played as her, but she didn't have any. So the things that you'd been using for the entire game, you were like, oh, well, I don't know how to play this character. This character's completely new to me. She's got like none of the abilities that I thought I already had. And she's got small knife. She has small knife.
Small wife with small knife.
Small wife.
Why
Small knife.
wife always have small knife?
Why?
Why?
Dunno.
Why though? Why though?
Why?
Ashton, what do you hate? It doesn't have to be a thing you hate, but what feelings do you go through?
I
and
have
stuff?
like two reactions to games sometimes. I either like really am immediately invested in it and I'll just want to play that all the time and nothing else, and I'll just play that solid, or I will get bored or overwhelmed in the first like hour and a half, and then it just sits on my shelf, either like physical or virtual shelf, for a really long time until I go, oh, maybe I'll try this again. There's a couple of times where I've just been like, this is too much. Like with you were saying, if it's a massive open world map and I'm just like, I can't handle this right now. Or if it just seems like a really intense. So if I'm like not in a good headspace, I don't want to play a game that's going to just be really intense and take a lot of brain power. I just want to play a nice game where we're just wandering around a nice forest maybe, or just building a village in Animal Crossing or something. I think that's like the two. I'm in a nice brain space. Maybe I'll play something that's going to make me cry. Maybe I'll
needs
risk
to be bringing
it.
down a bit from happiness.
Yeah, exactly.
I need some assistance in feeling emotions.
Exactly. But so sometimes like I don't want to play Life is Strange because I just mentally cannot put myself through that at this time. So maybe I'll play something else that just I just turn my brain off and shoot some zombies or something. And also sometimes I don't want to play a game on my own. Like I'll look for a co-op game because I want to play with someone else, like my partner or a friend, because I just don't want to just sit in silence on my own. I'd rather have someone else to talk to while I'm playing a game. So sometimes I won't say stomach, but that's not really what I mean, playing a solo game, because I'd rather just talk to someone else and spend time with someone else whilst also playing a game. There's nothing like specific kind of games that like turn me off or make me not want to play them. It's normally I'll play like the first hour and just go, this is too much for me right now, or I just can't play this game, which is fine. Then there's games that we don't all like, and luckily for us, Steam, if you don't play too much of it, we can give you your money back. So if you don't want it after like an hour and a half, I think it's like 8 hours, something like that,
It's
you
very
can play
generous.
Yeah, it's several hours.
If you don't like it after that time, you can just get the money back. So if you don't like, there's been a couple of games where I've started playing them and gone, no thanks, and just given those back to Steam. But yeah, that's my answer. What about you, Ben?
I'll tell you. Sometimes I find it difficult to start a new game. I tend to find that not always, but sometimes it feels like a real undertaking. Like Joe says, there's going to be a lot of information thrown at you. And if it's a bigger game, as Peter mentioned, that's a lot of learning to be done and a lot of things to get used to, and systems and
Especially
control
for
schemes.
An unwinding hobby. Like you do it mostly for fun and to relax. So if it involves...
You've got to practice and like learn something. And that's, inherent to a lot of games. And I feel like maybe that's lessened with sequels or games of a certain genre. Like if you're starting to play a first-person shooter, there's a good chance that it's got the fairly standardized controls you get across all first-person shooters, which is good. We've come a long way in that regard, based on some of the games from the 90s and the early 2000s where the controls were weird. Bethesda, you're not making first-person shooters, but if you could stop making triangle jump, we would all appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We get it. The arrow.
We get it. Yeah, you're very
up.
clever. We get it.
No.
It's the
Stop
top
it
button.
now.
It's the top button.
Stop it.
Fine.
X isn't crouch, is it? What are
Stop
you
it.
doing?
Stop it now, Bethesda, please.
Circle isn't rolling a ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a few weeks ago, I even spoke about on this podcast, I had Life is Strange, True Colors to play, and I started playing Nier Automata instead.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, maybe Nier Automata felt like less of an undertaking, even though I know that it's a very dense game from a lore perspective and so on. It still felt like, again, as we talk about seemingly every week, going back to games that you quote unquote get for free, feeling like you have less of an obligation to give them your time.
Yeah.
It felt like something that I could just stick on, like, all right, let's just see what this is about then. Whereas Life is Strange is a game that I was actively looking forward to playing. And in that same vein, I have been in the situation several times, and it was the case this week as well with a review copy that we got quite early, that when I get a game that I've been looking forward to for a really long time, it's like, yes, it's finally here, I've got it. And there's almost this weird psychological feeling of the fact that I have the power to play it and have not yet started it is somehow just as exciting as actually playing it.
Yeah.
And the idea of starting to play it is almost like the anticipation then is gone. The excitement is over. Like I'm excited to play it, but then I'm no longer excited to play it because I'm playing it. It's a weird mental hurdle. It doesn't always happen, but it certainly happened with me in the past.
I feel with games like that as well, where it is one you've been really looking forward to, you want to know, or I certainly want to know, that I'm perhaps going to be able to play it every night coming for the next few days. And if I know I've got plans like in 2 days' time and I'm not going to be able to play it that night, you know, I'm not worried that I'm going to forget everything in a day or something, but that's just what I want to do with the game I've really been looking forward to. I just want to play it every single evening, which is why I've not played that game that I think you're talking about.
Yeah, we can say what it is, because I'm going to mention it in what we're playing. And I want to before you continue, make clear that when we get early review code, we don't just don't play it. It's just the fact that it was downloading last night and it was ready to play, but I decided ultimately to wait.
And we've got time to play it before the embargo,
so
I will play it before then.
It's not that we're just ignoring it.
No,
not at all. Carry on. Sorry.
Well, no, that's all I was going to say. But yeah, are we going to say what game we're talking about? Or
yeah. Well, I was going to mention it in what we're playing in just a second. So, you find out.
All right, hang tight.
Do you find as well? Back to this question before we move on to the next.
Yeah.
Do you find as well that like when it's a game that you've been really looking forward to, do you have that kind of worry that it's going to be rubbish? Because like when we were playing Kana, I was really looking forward to Kana for so long, and I was anticipating it so much that when it first downloaded, I was like, but what if it's bad? Like I don't want to start playing this game and just have all of my spirit
especially something
crushed.
like that that's, you know, to an extent it's untested, you know, it's I don't mean the game wasn't tested, but I mean the studio and a new
waters.
IP, Uncharted, new IP, studio's kind of first major outing, you know, it's
but even with like established games like Resi Village, I was like, oh, I'm really excited to play Resi Village, and then I was like, but what if it's not everything that I anticipate it to be, you know? And it wasn't, to be fair. It was quite different to what I thought it was going to be. Like Lady D wasn't like in it for very long.
Boss,
but it's that version that lives in your head.
Yeah,
and then when you start playing, you get to experience the reality, which is good because it's reality and you're finally playing it. But on the other hand, this ideal version of the game you built in your head is no longer.
It just vanishes forever.
It's gone now.
Yeah. I think that's cool. So one of my big things was starting a game that I've been really excited about. I was always, like you were saying, like I want to make sure I can play it for a long time. I want to make sure that I'm going to enjoy it. So I just worry so much that I'm going to hate it and then I'm going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened massively yet. So hopefully it won't happen.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Should we put the people out of their misery?
Yeah, let's move on to a section that, I don't know, Ashton, what is it? Have we done it before?
I don't think we have. It says, what we playing?
Oh, that's just nonsense words. It's time for What We Playin', Peter.
Yeah.
What have you been playing?
This week, I have started, at long last, a game I've been looking forward to, God of War.
Hey!
Finally.
How very fitting for this
How
week
much
as
do you
well.
hate it, Austin?
I love it. It's really good. How very fitting for what?
I
This
love
week,
it.
For this
because
week.
it's coming out on, it was announced it's coming out on PC this
Yes.
week.
Yes.
Well, exactly.
Well, not coming
yeah.
out this week on PC.
No, but it
Next
was
year.
announced
Next
this week. Yeah. No, that's right. So I knew it would be good. I've the reason I have not played it until now has not been that I thought I wouldn't like it or anything like that. I've just thought, it's everyone says it's a great game, and it partly was that thing of like, I want to just be able to give it my time and my attention. And there seems to have always been a reason not to, either because I've had other games to play at the same time, or I have known that like I'm not going to have a lot of free time in my evenings coming up that I'll be able to play this regularly, and I wanted to be able to do that. But the time seemed right, and wow, it's just fun. I was surprised by how fun it is to play physically as well. I knew that the story was going to be impressive, and it was going to be an interesting world and lore and characters and things like that. But just like I just really enjoy the combat for one thing, which. I know God of War as a franchise has always had quite visceral combat. I've played the first God of War, but one thing I found about the original God of War game that made me not carry on with the others, even though I really wanted to in kind of one part of my mind, was that it's very grindy. It's a real hack and slash game, and there's a lot of enter one large arena area, kill lots and lots of enemies, some of which take a absolute beating to take down, move to the next area, kill lots more enemies, very hack and slash. And yeah, it's visceral combat. It feels good to swing your flails around or whatever it is.
Blades of Chaos.
Blades of Chaos. All right then, if you want to get Greek about this. I don't know. But I was, I thought, if they've lifted too much from the classic God of War games, I might find the combat in this game a little bit much. Not at all so far. I think it's just super fun. And that axe, God, that throwing axe.
The Leviathan
isn't it?
axe.
The Leviathan axe, actually. Yeah, you're right. I do
Nerd.
remember that. That's a lot of fun. I was also surprised to see that you can use it in puzzle solving as well. That was cool. So, yeah, I'm already very much invested, very much enjoying it. And I guess I'll keep you updated in the next podcast or two
Excellent.
about how I'm getting on with it. But
Excited to hear how you find it as you get further into the
Where's the game? And also, that's the game I was talking about in terms of it's relatively focused and it's not open world.
linear.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
open linear, exactly. So that's nice for me at the moment as well.
Excellent.
Nice to meet you.
It's been a while since we last spoke in terms of what games I've been playing. 2 weeks, in fact.
Yeah.
Ages.
I don't know if I'd finished it the last time I was here on the podcast, but I think I've finished Kana finally.
Right, yeah, I don't think
finished
you have said
the
that.
boss and everything. Really enjoyed it.
What did you think of the last boss? I asked Peter this as well.
I kind of thought it was a bit of a ball ache. I couldn't figure out what I was doing for a while, and then
Right.
I realized that it's the things on its back that I have to.
Pew.
I also kind of didn't like, but I thought it was kind of cheap that they took all the rots off me and then immediately gave them back.
Yeah, that was a bit weird that they came back so quickly.
Like it was like first you kind of unlocked like maybe like 10 of them, and then in the next time you just got them all back anyway. And I was like, okay, this is fine. I don't
wasn't
mind.
a huge fan of the final boss. I didn't like it that much. Felt like it went on a bit long.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I didn't mind it, but you make a good point that like, why take the rots away if they're only going to be gone for literally like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And then back again.
I'm not sure that that's a spoiler, just because it's
Well,
just boss. It's just boss stuff.
It's
Yeah.
just a mechanic. There's not really
it's just boss
a big
stuff.
story moment or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
I did die at one point and I didn't know why I died. Like I was on full health and then suddenly I was just dead and had to start again. And I was a bit like, oh, okay, this is fine. But yeah, I finished Kana and I really enjoyed it. I finally collected all of the rots and all of the hats. There was this one final rot that I genuinely was looking for
talked about
like
this.
4 hours
Where was
and I
it?
couldn't find it. It was under this rock that I had checked so many times, and I'd gone through and I'd checked the same rock and I'd gone like, well, I've got this one because the rock is smashed and there's no rot there. So why would there be a rot there now? And I was like, fine, before I just go do this final boss, I was just going to leave without it because I thought it was bugged. I went back and I was looking around all again trying to find it, and I walked to this rock and I smashed it, and this little white shiny thing popped out, and I literally
You little
bugger.
I swore so loud to myself in my house because I was fuming. I was like,
You've now
I've
been
been here
evicted from the
so
building.
many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you use a guide in the end?
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. To get all the hats and stuff as well, I used a guide because then, it's clever and they're all very obvious once you've got the guide. You'd be like, how did I even miss this? But I had to use a guide.
Yeah.
But then this week, I was home with my partner for a wedding and then just stayed in Leicester for a couple of days. So we played quite a lot of co-op games. We played loads of Back 4 Blood. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, really?
Great.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
good to
really
hear,
having a good
'cause
time.
Some people aren't, but that's good.
It's not Left 4 Dead. Like it's not as good. Don't get me wrong. But for what it is, I really enjoy it. Like it's got some elements of Left 4 Dead that I kind of wish were still in it. So there's this, you know how in Left 4 Dead, I don't know how much you've played of it. All of the like big zombies have specific names, like a boomer, and everyone will go, "Oh my god, a boomer!" And the game will go, "Look out, it's a boomer." In Back 4 Blood, every character seems to have a different name for a thing, and also the thing has a different name. So like they'll say, "Oh, that's a tall boy," and you'll be like, "Okay, that's a tall boy," and then someone else will go, "That's a crusher," and I'm like, "Is it the same thing or is it a different thing?" And then you'll get like, "Look out, it's a boomer. Look out, it's a reeker," and then it would be like, "You're covered in reeker guts," and I'm like, "Okay, cool," and then it'll be like, "This is a stalker," and you're like, "What do you mean?" And the tall boy is actually called a crusher, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Why would you want
So,
any
like,
other name than Tall Boy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then they'll
Clearly
say like,
perfect.
look out, it's a tall boy," and then the thing when you get caught, it'll be like, "Ashton's been caught by a crusher," and we're like, "What the hell's a crusher? What do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?" And then we'll turn around and be like, "That's a tall boy. You've told me this is called a tall boy. Everyone shouted it."
Turn off your flashlight. It's a
God-
tall girl.
God
Oh,
dang
here
it!
she comes.
Oh,
What
here
is
she
that?
comes.
What is a tall girl?
But yeah, I've been really enjoying it. We are on like halfway through Act 2 because there's 4 acts in the campaign, though Act 4 is like just the one dot. So I think it's just like the main boss ending situation.
Right.
But we're halfway through Act 2. I've played it with my boyfriend, with another friend, so 3 of us playing it, and then I've also played it solo. So you obviously get the other bots to come with you as well. And there's like added challenges and different cards and stuff that you can unlock that I really like because every time you play a certain level, it's a bit different. You can obviously make it a bit harder and a bit easier. But I've really enjoyed playing Back 4 Blood, to be fair. I also played some Orcs Must Die 3 again because we really quite enjoy that game.
Good game.
We've been playing it in co-op again. So have you had a chance to play it in co-op?
No, I've
yet?
not actually. No, I don't know that many other people outside of you who's got it. So
That's okay.
they're enough friends, I suppose.
Yeah.
But also, I was saying to Ben on the previous podcast, I've probably played enough of that game for now. I
That's
think.
fair.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. We keep getting our arse handed to us. Like, I don't think we've got above 3 skulls on like most modes. We had to take it down to Apprentice because we were getting like 1 skull every time and not being able to upgrade everything because we were getting up through at like 2 rift points left, and we were like, "God damn, it's just too hard." Do you know what I'm talking about? No
idea.
No idea. But also, this is the last thing I've been playing. I've been playing some Far Cry 6. I've played it both in solo
The world's best video game.
and in co-op, and it is so much better when you play it co-op. My God, it's so much more fun. I mean, it's not a fun game, but it's more fun when you're playing it in co-op. And we played it with my Ben, and he hadn't got past like the first island, but he could still join my game. So all he had was Guapo the crocodile.
Yeah.
And I had a full variety of amigos to hang out with. And we were trying not to do story missions because they don't count towards like his playthrough. So if he did want to play it through on his own, he'd have to do the same mission again. Accidentally, like, ended up in a mission. We were just doing something else, and suddenly the screen went black, and we were in the middle of a cutscene. And I was like, "What's happening?" But we just did the mission, and it was fine. There's a clip I retweeted from my Ben of Chorizo on the boat just rolling off into the ocean. He just glitched out, and he just like rolls off into the sea.
He swims so quick.
I know. We were doing a treasure hunt, and I turned around, and I was like, "What is that over there?" And he's just paddling across the
Chorizo,
ocean.
if you don't know, is a little
Sausage
wiener
dog in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he's got a wheelchair, and I just happened to turn while underwater, and he just went.
like a little submarine, just
think
zooming
he would
across.
swim slower than a dog.
would.
does.
Well, if anything,
He's
he
got the
should not be
additional
able to
speed.
swim. Like he would just sink.
Don't
Yeah.
let him near the water.
But
This
like,
is not safe
you watch his
place
little
for him
legs
to be.
go in the water. And the game is so pretty. Like, if there's one thing you can give Far Cry 6, it is a gorgeous game.
I've had some interesting bugs.
Yeah, I
in
know
regards
that
to the
you've been playing in
graphics,
co-op, but yeah, I've really enjoyed playing it in co-op, and I'm still not past like the first bit of the main island because there's just so much to do. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. Ben, what have you been playing this week?
I've also been playing Far Cry 6.
Yes.
So buggy. It is so
buggy.
buggy. There's a texture on your co-op partner's face for like sweat. And they're like, they're a bit shiny. For me, on several occasions now, the further away I get, the more the sweat texture just mutates into this like war paint of just white streaks across the model's face.
Weird.
I have several photos and video clips of this on my console. It's just not right. Something is really wrong with this
I've
game,
not
and they
seen
are
that.
not fixing it. My favorite bug that I had this week, though, which I mentioned in the office, was that I took off in a helicopter, landed on my co-op partner, which pushed him through the ground. He then fell forever in the void. You can only get so far away from your co-op partner until one of you just dies and spawns next to them. So I just died, spawned under the map with him, continued to just fall forever until suddenly everything went completely black. And then I was on a very, 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 very low poly rooftop with like no textures at all. And I could mash the X button to jump, but I wasn't really jumping. I was just sort of going, couldn't move. And turns out it was loading in the world around me. I checked the map and I was right in the center of the hardest area of the game, which I'm assuming I'm not allowed back to until much later. It's where you start the game, and I'm assuming where the game ends, which is where Castillo is based and all that kind of stuff. They just spawned me in the center of the city, on the other side of the map, because I fell through the world. I don't understand. I mean, the game's fun, but not a minute goes by without something just fundamentally wrong happening, like an affront to God and games in general.
Have you done any of the special expeditions?
What are those?
So there's someone, when you get to like the first camp, you can go and speak to Lola, who's this like taxi driver, and they're co-op missions that you can redo at different difficulties to unlock guns and equipment and stuff. But they're self-contained missions, so it takes you out of the map and puts you in a different area.
No, I haven't.
And you
done any of
basically have to go and collect this explosive from the bad people, and the explosive counts up when it's in the sun, so if it gets too hot it'll explode, so you've got to stay in the shade or put it under like water sources that you kind of encounter as you go through the map, to make sure that it doesn't explode as you go through the game or through the like area. But the first one that you can do, one of the like first ones you unlock, is like in like a dinosaur park. So there's all these big dinosaur statues and like a nice open field, and it's actually really fun. But that's actually a really interesting part of the game.
pretty fun.
So if you play it again, I recommend doing a special expedition.
It's just overstuffed. Far
yeah,
Cry
there's a
6
lot
is
in it.
There's so
100%.
many things to do.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And so we're just forging through the missions as fast as we can.
And it's
ready
also
to
when
get
you just
through it.
happen to encounter a random man on the street who's like, oh, did you know about this thing?
Yeah, there's
And
this
he'll
guy in a
just tell
cowboy
you.
hat who's just following me around the world.
Yeah.
Like I'll pull over at the side of the road and he'll come walking down a path. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh God, he's here again.
Yeah, and he's got an
He
exclamation mark
won't
above
leave
his
me
head.
alone.
And
He's
he'll
like
just tell you-
Preston Garvey from Fallout 4. He just
disappears.
doesn't stop.
And he just tells you about something else on the map that you should go
Just
and
leave
do.
me alone.
And you're like, oh my God, why don't you just tell me?
Just
Why have you got to find
leave
this
me
random
alone.
man on the streets to tell me?
I think Far Cry 6 is crap, but I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah.
For all the wrong reasons.
It's good crap.
It is good crap. Played a bit of Warzone. First time jumping into that in a while. They have a mode at the moment which is basically shotguns and snipers only, which
Right.
was really fun. It felt
Yeah.
like Time Splitters in
Yeah.
a way. Won that. Nobody too lol.
Lol. Just so good at games.
Played a tiny bit more of Hell Let Loose, which I was talking about last week.
Yeah.
Had a terrible time with that and turned it off almost immediately. Just died and then had to sprint for like 5 literal minutes to get back to the front line. Died again. It's just, I can't be asked. I have to be in a very special mood set to enjoy Hell Let Loose, I think. I resubscribed to PlayStation Now to finish off Gravity Rush 2.
Wow.
It wasn't worth it. That game massively outstays its welcome, and I'm so sad that I spent £8 to finish it off because it wasn't worth it. I was just getting really frustrated. It's almost all combat, and the combat is the worst part of Gravity Rush because the controls are not good and the camera's not good, and kind of ruined my entire experience with that game. I still think it's great, and I would be very interested in a sequel if they ever did one. But the final portion of that game is just, it should have just ended. Should have just ended already.
There's so many games that you just think like, what was the quota that made you continue making this
Why
game?
did it keep going?
Like,
ended,
why didn't you just stop?
And then there was an additional bit that goes on for like 3 more hours.
Well, I keep seeing Plague Tale on my dashboard on the PS5. I'm like, one day.
One day I'll get
warned
to that.
off it.
Maybe eventually.
Finally, the last thing I've played this week, which I can't go into any detail on, is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which we're fortunate enough to get an early code for. I will be streaming it next week on release day for everybody who wants to come along and watch. I think I am probably allowed to say that I love it very, very, very much.
Probably allowed to say.
I've only played a couple of hours, but we'll do a full quip scope. I think that's Monday is the embargo for that, so we'll have some coverage out on Monday for people who are interested in our full thoughts. But until then, I'm just going to be playing as much as possible.
I'm going to give it a go over the weekend. Play
I didn't get code.
A session.
Well, I have nothing to say to that. We can't always get the fact that
I'm
we got 2
joking. I'm
codes is
joking.
astonishing.
Maybe you're not allowed one. Yeah, we were lucky to get 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really were. But that's all I've been playing. Let's move on to question 2.
Question 2 comes from Charlie Brain. Hey Bap, thanks for answering my question in your big discussion last week. Was it a good question?
Yeah, it was a good
Yeah,
question.
it was great. It was all the better for you not being there.
Cool. Here's a new one for you to ponder with your big Charlie brains. What is your least enjoyed video game theme right now? For me, it's zombies and has been for a long time, as I just find them dull and repetitive, and there are only so many places you can go with them, so to speak. What about you guys? Is there a specific villain class that you're not a fan of, or a theme of a game that you're a bit tired of? Or do you still love everything and like different publishers' takes on them? Thanks, and keep up the ever-loving work that you guys do, as it's all brilliant.
Oh, thank you, Charlie Brain.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Charlie
Charlie
Brain.
Brain. Look at the brain on Charlie.
Wow. It's
Big-
huge.
Big Charlie
Big
Brain.
Check a look
Charlie
at that
Brain
big brain.
energy.
I have an answer that's actually kind of Charlie Brain adjacent in that it's not specifically zombies that I'm tired of, although I can totally understand why someone would be. But I'm actually a bit sick of post-apocalyptic games. Now, when I see a post-apocalyptic game, it has to be something really tempting. It has to have something else about it. That can't be the lead. That can't be the draw. You know, Last of Us Part 2, I played for the story and the characters. I wanted to know what had happened after Last of Us Part 1. But, Biomutant is a good example of something where I think I would have enjoyed it far more if it hadn't been set in a place that was just full of like tarmac roads and pylons and skyscrapers. Like, that was a sort of interesting game in terms of playing as those little cat characters, and they had some really cool monster designs and stuff like that, and a quite interesting lore as well, I thought, like deep down. But I just found it a bit boring to be running around just another overgrown city. I just feel like I've been to so many overgrown cities now in games, and I've just sort of had enough of them for a little bit. So yeah, that's something that I could do without for now. And as I say, it's zombie adjacent because generally zombie games take place in those settings, but not always.
I agree with you. I think that's a really good shout, because I do think there's so many games where you're just like, did it need to be on this post-apocalyptic like Earth? Couldn't we have just like had it on a nice new planet or somewhere completely different and just have it as its own thing of this is just how the world works? One of the things that I really just don't get and I can't get behind is all of like mundane task simulator games, like power washing simulator, like lawn mowing simulator,
Big shop simulator.
Big shop simulator. I just can't get behind.
Farming
I just
sim.
can't get it. Like, I don't understand it. It's so uninteresting to me. And I couldn't imagine doing these things in real life. I don't want to mow my lawn. I don't want to power wash something. Though actually, when I did do it that one time, it was quite fun. But I did end up covered in mud. So that is, I guess, why.
I was just going to say, some of them
fun.
seem satisfying to me. Like power washing, I can understand why people like that game. But stuff like the trucking simulator ones, those don't even look... If they'd done like a really impressive... photorealistic world, I might be somewhat interested to like drive around
like
different...
flight simulator.
Sorry?
Like Flight Sim.
Yeah, exactly.
kind
If
of
they'd
thing.
done Trucking Simulator like that, where the world is actually quite spectacular, then I might be interested to just see, like, you know, what it's like to play those games. But when I see footage of those, they kind of look not very good. You're just on a motorway that looks a bit like my first Unity project. Like it looks like it's shovelware sometimes, I think.
I want there to be a story mode.
Yeah.
I want to be able to pull over at a services and have there be RPG mechanics where you have to manage your weight and
Call your wife.
and your needs.
Yeah.
Like, I need a wee and I need to sleep.
Well,
You
most-
pull over in a lay-by. This area is a target for crime.
Yeah.
So you don't want to pull over here, or vandals might try and break into the.
I
back
know
of
the
into your
Burger King
trailer.
is shut. How's
Damn,
that
the Burger
happening?
King. Got to
And
go
you
to the
might have
crappy
to-
food court.
Yeah.
You might have to wee in a bottle.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your wee bottle?
Oh, no. Amazon
Throw it out the
DLC.
window.
Oh no! All the European drivers have gone. You've got to pick up the slack, bud. But your wage isn't going anywhere.
No.
No.
Damn,
You've
there's
got to call
shortages
your
for
wife.
Christmas.
You haven't seen her in 3 weeks, and she's worried about you because you haven't come home
But
in a
they're
long time.
queuing around the block for
But
petrol
that's
in
around the
London.
block for-
That's
so-
another
That's
part of the
all.
story is that maybe you don't have a wife, and you it's the relationships you build on the road. You're like you're
Yeah.
doom scrolling through Tinder as you pull over
As you
to them
drive.
in a lay-by,
Ugh.
as you drive. That's what I want. That would be interesting to
Mhm.
me. But yeah, I would never play one of those games.
And also, controversial the fact that I said I was really enjoying Back for Blood. I too am a bit like zombie games.
It's weird because zombie games like reached critical mass about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and it feels like people stopped being tired of them, but the number of zombie games did not go down. There's been the exact same amount of zombie games.
Yeah.
Dead Island was probably the point where it was like, no thanks. I've had
Maybe
enough.
it was what's the one that everyone loves that I really didn't like? Dying Light.
Dying Light.
That's
Dying
it.
Light.
Dying Light. Couldn't get into
Second
that.
one's coming
Everyone
out
loved
soon,
that.
isn't it?
I
I
feel
think-
like Dying Light
yeah.
was a bit of an upswing for people. It was like, oh, an interesting
It's got,
new
it's
mechanic.
got
Because it
a
had-
USB,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you need. Like I say, for me with the post-apocalyptic stuff, I have to be playing it for something else. I'm not there for the apocalypse.
Like
I'm
Horizon
there
is
for-
set in a post-apocalyptic world, but
But
that's
has
not
those
really
interesting
necessarily the whole
enemies.
point. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got all of the robots and stuff.
twimst on
But yeah, I
feet.
think zombies. I think if you're just gonna, be like, oh, we're in a zombie apocalypse. Like, Resi 1, 2, 3, 4 had zombies in it. Did Resi 1 have? Or
Resi 4 didn't have
Resi
zombies.
4 had.
Well, okay, they weren't zombies. They were
They were
parasite-ridden
basically
people.
zombies. Yeah.
They don't call them zombies anymore.
Okay.
Because it's passe.
Yes. But like I do think that, you can give them a different name. Like in Back 4 Blood they're called the Ridden. They're not called the zombies.
Freakers in that's really good PlayStation game that I've forgotten. The one where you're on the motorbike, the riding one. Dying, no. Dead,
No.
or-
See,
Days
there's
Gone.
too
Days
many.
Gone. It was a D, yeah.
Yeah.
D in there. Days
Well, there
Gone.
was
Yeah.
a meme going around this week. You might have seen. I don't know if it was a Vine or not a Vine.
A TikTok.
Flipping
A Tok
TikTok.
Tick.
Yeah, TokTik or a YouTube video is what I meant. I don't. But it was just. It was just called something like when zombie fiction writers don't want to use the word zombie, and it's just a supercut of this man going, "Look out! There are flippers over there," and stuff, and it just goes on and on. And
Yeah.
he's going, "Oh, shamblers are coming," and it's true. No one says zombies anymore.
Everyone knows what they are. Just call them
Yeah.
zombies. Do you not have popular culture in your universe?
That's what I think. If you're in The Walking Dead and there are corpses walking around, you'll be like, there are zombies.
That
but
is
they're,
what are
zombie.
they if not zombies?
they're walkers,
Yeah.
apparently.
But I do understand where Charlie's coming from, and I do have to agree. I think the only reason that I think Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead do so well is they don't take themselves too seriously. Like, you're running through an area and you're shooting, but the characters are just making stupid comments the
Yeah.
whole way through, and it's kind of fine.
Each of the loading screens and like levels for Left 4 Dead was like a B-movie horror poster.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
exactly, yeah.
Starring, and it says all your.
Well, like
names.
in Back 4 Blood, like, there's a level where you're just hanging out in a bar with the jukebox playing, and you have to just kill them while like good music's just playing on in the
That's fun.
background.
It's like
And that's
Shaun of the
fun.
Dead, isn't it, or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like Shaun of the Dead, but in game form. But then you get things like Last of Us, obviously do it really well. But then there's just so many other ones, and like you struggled to name 2 because they're so similar to all of
There's a
each
lot.
other.
Dead, dying, days,
Days, dead, someone's dead. Yeah.
Blood, all that sort of stuff.
What about you, Ben?
Well,
What are you
I'm-
tired of?
I know that I've just played and platinum Near Automata, but I would argue before I make my point here that that was me sort of bowing to pressure because the amount of praise that game has, I think, sets it apart. And there will always be exceptions to the rule, obviously, as with The Last of Us, as with Horizon, and so on and so forth. So I'm inherently put off by games that feature anime lady with big sword.
Yes.
Or anime boy with big hair.
Not interested.
And big swords.
Just don't want any part of it. If it's not part of a franchise that I'm already familiar with, then it's going to have to do a lot to sell me on it.
Totally agree.
I have a gut reaction where it's just my brain shuts down. It's like the Windows XP logging off noise every time we watch one of these conferences and there's anime lady with big sword. I'm just
it's because it's not just from oversaturation of that type. It's because it's going to have a weird story, and the dialogue is going to be like strange, and you just know what
you're
comes
not going to
with
understand what's going on the whole time.
It's going to be pretentious. Some of it will
have
be
like a
good. It'll have
skimpy
probably a cool
outfit.
soundtrack. Probably have some interesting combat, maybe. But it's a lot of baggage with that.
It's got to work very hard to win me over. On top of that, just these are just sort of buzzwords that turn me off about games.
Okay.
Live service.
Yeah.
No.
Daily rewards.
No.
Battle pass.
No.
Pixel art side scroller.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Biggest world we've ever made.
No, absolutely not.
Oh,
Take that back.
Going back to pixel art side scroller, there are some phenomenal indie games that are pixel art, and I know for budget reasons, often pixel art is the way that a lot of studios have to go. But that's not to say that pixel art can't be beautiful and amazing in its own right, because it can. Games with pixel art can be amazing. But again, with these conferences, when I see a game of a certain type that's pixel art, usually a side scroller, maybe a bullet hell, maybe sort of a Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac style looking game, I'm not there. I'm not there for that at all.
It's that thing, isn't it, where there's only so much time, so many games, so little time.
I ain't spending any time on it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you have to just have those shortcuts to like swipe left or right, as it were. Like,
we talked about
no.
the sort of average scores in a previous podcast of like what's our threshold for playing a game, and for me it's usually like 80 plus.
Yeah.
And again, I think we got some flack for that. It's not
I didn't
that
really look at scores, to be honest.
I don't play games. It's not that I don't play any games under a review score of 80. It's just that with limited time, you have to pick and choose where you spend.
Yeah, you're not saying sub 80 is a bad game.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's just that's the threshold for me for generally deciding which games I do and don't want to play. But it varies. There's no hard and fast rule on any of this.
No.
It all it's all on a case by case basis. But generally speaking, if I see or hear any of those things, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
That's removed me from the equation usually.
Yeah.
It's something.
Hello. Time for something strange called weird news.
It's weird news time for some weird video game news. If you find some weird gaming news, you can tweet it to us or send it to us on Facebook, or wait until the post goes out during sort of early in the week, isn't it? It usually goes out Tuesday or something like that.
Normally.
And if you just leave it in the comments or in the replies, we can pick your news story, maybe give you a shout out as well.
Yeah, it's one way you can contribute to the podcast, but another way you can contribute is by being a podcast producer, which is a reward available over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump. This week, our podcast producers, thank you, are Matt Barger,
James Carmichael,
Sean Legg,
Trick24,
Evan Bredenbach. Sorry.
Evan. And Fred Cartwright, otherwise known as GY Goliath,
Ellie Nicholas,
Hutcher 10,
Melody L. Bonnet,
Harrison Calnan,
Dylan.
Oh, there's more.
Gabrielle Philippink.
Wait,
Was that you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Adam Dawson.
And Katie Garrett.
Apologies.
Fantastic. There we are. Thank you very much to our podcast producers.
I'm also concerned that Matt Barger, maybe Barger, probably is Barger.
Matt.
Occupational surname, I think.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
So sorry.
Appreciate you all.
Going back to what Ben was saying earlier, thank you to Jonathan Wong for providing this story on the Facebook post, I believe. This is according to metro.co.uk, who say KFC trolls Back for Blood for being a, quote, cheap copy.
This was cruel, wasn't it?
Insomniac comes to the defense. All part of
this
Didn't
was
it seem just a
mean.
bit mean?
Yeah. Just really strange
And
that
for
this had
what?
been done.
Like, it was so weird.
Like, it's like, all right, silence brand
Yeah.
for a start, like the meme silence brand, but also, come on.
Right.
Don't be a dick.
That's kind of the story.
Calm down, Colonel.
It's not weird that KFC have commented on a gaming thing because they do have a bit of a gaming presence on social media. But it's weird that it's really strange that they just chose to do this.
Yeah.
I think. So this is according to Game Central on Metro. That appears to be the author. I think they just they don't credit their authors. They're all part of Game Central.
Oh, good.
So there you go. Here we go. The home of Colonel Sanders has decided to troll Turtle Rock and their new game Back for Blood in one of the strangest Twitter fights ever. This week's that was all in bold. That was the subheading, and now we're probably going to say that exact paragraph again.
Yeah.
This week's launch of Back 4 Blood has been a slightly confused affair, with the multiplayer-focused game being impossible to properly review before launch, but it's not attracted any particularly negative press until KFC decided to pick a fight with it for no apparent reason. Using the KFC Gaming Twitter account, a message was tweeted out comparing the box art of Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood with the message, "Every masterpiece has its cheap copy." I'm not even sure if that's accurate. I think they were talking about the game as a whole, not just the box art.
Yeah,
I would say.
They showed a photo of the box
showed the
art,
box art,
but
but
they
they
were
were
clearly
saying
talking about the game.
These games are anyway.
Come on,
whatever.
Metro.
Back 4 Blood is a spiritual sequel to Left 4 Dead by original developer Turtle Rock, although whether KFC was aware of that when they sent their tweet is unclear. I think they probably were.
Yeah. I'd like to think so.
Their trolling worked, though, apparently, and Turtle Rock was compelled to reply with a tweet that reads, 11 herbs and spices and still no taste.
Oh.
Nice. That is a good comeback.
That's a good clapback there.
This in turn drew support from Spider-Man developer Insomniac Games with the message, "Hey, we think you're great."
Oh.
Insomniac
Insomniac.
are also quite active on social media recently, just saying nice things to other people.
That's
I've
lovely.
noticed.
What are they hiding?
Yeah, what have
what are
they
they up
done?
to?
What have they done?
What have they done?
Check under the bed.
Yeah.
What is it? Check the bodies.
The closet.
There's
Check in
definitely
the
bodies.
Some
closet.
skeletons.
Yeah.
That's interesting because it not only shows that developers are sticking up for each other, but Insomniac are rumored to be working on a secret multiplayer project, and it may well be that they've been paying special attention to Turtle Rock's work recently.
Yep.
Okay,
Sound like me reading it now.
yeah, I know.
Turtle Rock's
work
work
recently.
recently. Turtle Rock's work recently. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
KFC Gaming is a marketing ploy that's been going on for a while now, with the fast food firm even going so far as to release a Colonel Sanders dating sim on Steam.
Remember that?
It was also a strange marketing stunt that pretended they were launching their own console. They
that.
did actually.
They did do
Metro, come on. Complete with built-in chicken fryer. The console has, you'll be shocked to find, not yet been released. I
Right,
thought
so
some
were they
physical
pretending
ones
or did
existed.
they? Yeah, I think that I don't know what Metro's talking
I
about.
don't know. Anyway, that's the Metro.
This
for
is
you.
a bad look for KFC Gaming.
It's a bad
whose
look for
presence
Metro.
We have a bad look for Metro too. Whose presence we have been amused by, but ultimately tolerating.
Yeah.
But if they're just going to start attacking things people like for no reason, that's really weird.
Yeah.
What a strange choice.
And it's not even like, to say it's a cheap copy, that would be slightly more justified and still a dick move, but slightly more justified if it was just a completely different studio who were like, oh, we really like Left 4 Dead. We're going to do
Yeah,
a
our own
spiritual
version of it.
successor. But, when you've got the same people working on two games, it'd be like saying to Ukulele, oh, it's a bit of a... It's a rip-off of Banjo, this, isn't it? Come on. It's Banjo-Kazooie just being ripped off.
Or Time Splitters. Someone's trying a bit hard. GoldenEye much.
Exactly, yeah.
Same people.
What are you talking about?
Come
They
on.
made the game.
It's not a cheap copy.
What, nearly 10 years since
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead 2? Come on.
Strange.
Really weird.
Very odd.
Really strange decision.
Thank you, Jonathan, for submitting that.
Thank you.
It's great.
That's John.
I've gone rogue for the first time and found my own news. Normally I search it, but there was a lot of posts about the Doom plays on Twitter, and I categorically couldn't get my head around it. And I didn't want to read out a
you
news
to
article
everyone who
that I
sent
had
that.
no idea what it was. I just couldn't understand it. Bit thick, but that's okay.
All right.
That's fine. We still love her. It's okay.
Just a moron, but that's fine.
This comes from Kotaku and Mike Fahey.
Hey.
Hey! And it says, please don't ever change this nightmare-inducing Switch icon. And then the subheading says, not sure which is scarier, Murder House, the game, or Murder House, the Switch icon. Did you just see it pop up on my screen for context?
Oh,
what?
no.
Why does it zoom on its own?
I don't like
Have
that.
they turned it into a GIF?
I think they've turned it into
There's
a GIF.
GIF embedded in the article that zooms in on it.
There'll be a link in the description. Switch owners like their game icons to be a certain way. They want bright colours and sharp-looking art. They also prefer the game's logo to be present in some way, shape or form. What many of them don't seem to like is slightly blurry, eyeless terror rabbits, and I can't see the problem, and neither can the rabbit, technically. The game this cuddly monstrosity represents is Murder House from mostly one-man development studio Puppet Combo. Developer Benedetto Ben Kokoza has a thing for the 80s VHS slasher movies and retro low-poly survival horror games. Murder House is about a news crew breaking into a mansion of the Easter Ripper, a notorious rabbit-themed serial killer, to shoot a haunted house story. Unfortunately for them, it turns out the Easter Ripper's reported death might not have stuck. In fact, he might be in the mansion with them, picking them off one by one.
Classic mistake.
Murder House was released on Steam last year, where it enjoys overwhelmingly positive reviews. It came to Switch, Xbox and PlayStation just last week. Look at it next to the Animal Crossing thing as well. It's really
horrible.
quite something.
It's really horrible.
That's an animal
But
I do not want to cross.
No, me neither. Good. But this isn't about the game. This is about the icon. It certainly stands out among the other Switch games I regularly play. Whenever I come across it, I find myself pausing briefly as if trapped inside the blurry bunny's hollow eye sockets. It looks especially wrong next to Animal Crossing New Horizons. Do I smell a crossover? God, I hope not. Or so. I'm not sure. It's so disturbing that at least one player took to Twitter to request the developer change the horrendous Murder House Nintendo Switch icon, further suggesting that they add the game's logo at least so it doesn't look like a cheap mobile game icon. Puppet Combo responded with a succinct no.
No.
We reached out to developer Ben Kokoza for a comment on the negative icon reaction, and we'll update should we have anything to add, but for now the no seems pretty definite. So
It does look like a cheap mobile game.
It does.
It's not
Yeah.
a good logo.
To be fair.
that's good.
I was surprised when he said it released to great success. Okay.
People bought that.
It's
based on the image.
It's not rubbish.
Well, that might not have been the image on Twitch, to be fair, but
No.
it is on Steam and on Switch, and I think it's funny. Ben.
Hello.
Weird news.
I've also got my own weird news. It was a pretty weak for weird news, just in general.
Not from the
Not from you
submission.
Not from the
guys.
submissions at all, just generally speaking, there wasn't a huge amount out there. So, I've got some Vladimir Putin news.
Oh,
It's from PC Gamer and Andy Chalk.
I hope it's gaming related. Not
Vladimir
Yes,
Putin
Putin.
says Peter Austin has the best hair in the business.
Oh my God! Congrats.
Vladimir Putin congratulates Russian Dota 2 team for World Championship win. Team Spirit, which beat Chinese team PSG LGD this weekend, is the first Eastern European team to win the Dota 2 championship in a decade.
Wow. Good for
Moscow-based Team Spirit claimed the crown at the International 2021 this weekend, earning a prize payout of more than $18 million in the process, the biggest in esports history. The team also got an official letter of congratulations from the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Congratulations on you. I'm not going to do that.
$18 million.
Congratulations
He'll have you
on your
killed.
well-deserved victory at the International 2021, the Dota 2 World Championship, Putin wrote in a message posted at kremlin.ru via Google Translate. For the first time in history, the Russian team of the Team Spirit Club won these prestigious competitions. Well done! On the way to the final, you demonstrated outstanding leadership qualities and solidarity, and in the decisive duel, which became a real test of skill and character, you managed to concentrate and seize the initiative from strong opponents at the most crucial moment. They have proven in practice that our esportsmen are always goal-oriented. Esportsmen is brilliant. Are always goal-oriented and capable of conquering any peaks.
Much
I
like
am
the nation of
obsessed.
Russia.
My God, I love that he's written this like they've just won a war. It's amazing.
Well, this is the thing. That's the weird aspect of it, because I feel like there's a lot of prejudice and perhaps assumptions, rightly and wrongly, about the Russian people and Russian government. And I just thought it was really... It just seemed very weird to me that to see Vladimir Putin even in the same sphere as video
Esports.
games or esport, and as you say, celebrating it like it's a big victory for the nation of Russia.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Wow.
just weird, just a bit straight. It goes on to talk about how sporting contests have been used, in many ways for political reasons in the past, especially between America and Russia and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But, esports aren't real sports. So
They are e-sportsmen.
Just saying,
They
they're
are
esportsmen
esportsmen.
or esports women, but esports aren't real sports. So let's just put it
Unless you've seen a VR league,
Just
because
gonna
they're
put that there.
pretty crazy when they do their
Are they?
esports. They're like all on the ground, crawling with these
See, I would
headsets
watch that.
on. It's good.
I would
It's
watch
good
that.
to watch.
But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. That was interesting bringing along because you
Yeah.
don't normally hear.
Much from old Putin.
Sorry.
Much from old
You
Putin.
don't often hear
Putin?
much from old Putin, especially regarding esports. So I thought that was a fun, weird little thing to bring along,
Yeah.
and maybe broaden our horizons a little.
Thanks,
The
Ben.
fact that
Thanks, Ben.
it exists in this space as well.
Thanks,
so
Ben.
there we are. Should we move on to another question?
Yeah, I think
Sure.
this is supposed to be me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
hard
can
to
you,
tell.
can
black.
you read it? It's
Yeah.
Question
highlighted
3 is what it
well.
says.
This is from Gregors25, who says, as it is the spooky month, I thought I would ask a spooky adjacent question. What is a non-spooky game that's really got you? And equally, which spooky game hasn't affected you at all? Mine would be the man-bat jump scare in Arkham Knight. That's pretty terrifying. And
Scree.
Oh, and Resident Evil 3 Remake. Love you guys and all of your brilliant content.
We love you too,
Thank you
Gregors.
very much,
Thank
Gregors.
you, Gregors.
For me, a game that is supposed to be spooky and has not got me at all, and I found ridiculous, is Outlast 2. I've not been. There may have been like one jump scare or something
Yeah.
that
It's just
purely,
loud noises,
purely
yeah,
from
yeah.
the shock of the loud
Surprise.
noise. Yeah,
I'm afraid I can't say that because there's video evidence of me going, no, 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 and running away. So
Well, you
Right.
did go through that area super quick. so
I
that
just
was
sprinted through it.
yeah. I mean, maybe there is video evidence of me going, "Oh, that's a bit. Oh, I don't like that." But I'm really, I've not gone home and thought, "Ooh, Outlast 2 might get me tonight." Whereas, some spooky games, if they're spooky enough, I will kind of, if I'm in a dark room, think, hope it's not real. Or equivalent. But a non-spooky game that I have found spooky and still kind of find pretty disturbing to this day, because I was a kid at the time, but it was still kind of inherently scary, was Treasures of the Deep, which is a PS1 game where you are a treasure hunter who goes through the ocean. It's basically like a first-person. It's a bit like a first-person shooter game where you have 3 axes of movement. Like there are, particularly on the PC in like the 90s, there were games where you would fly around as a ship and you can like look in all directions and stuff.
Okay.
A bit like that, but it's just underwater. And you can play in third person as well. But you're simply going around these reefs or like sunken temples and things like that. And you're taking out like underwater pirates and submarines and sharks and stuff like that. But there was a demo of the game on Demo 1, or one of the versions of Demo 1. There were different games on different versions, but that had Mission 2 on the demo. And it had the entire mission available to you. And you are just going for this shipwreck. And you have to make your way all the way through this like reef. And you get to the shipwreck and you have to get in there and take the gold and then leave. But inside the shipwreck, there is an eel that is about, I don't know, 30 feet long. It's bigger than this room.
That's a moray.
It's actually a giant moray eel. That's what its in-game name is. That's pretty good. I like that. And it's absolutely horrible. It makes growling noises. It's like the one from Super Mario 64. that you might
Yeah,
have
the
seen.
big spook one.
But it's not as comical and cartoony as that. It's like anatomically correct. And it just really taps into that fear that a lot of people have of the deep sea and monsters that are in it. And as the game goes on, it gets more and more out there. So the second boss that you fight is a giant octopus. But then the third thing that you fight is it's in a sunken temple, I think, and everything's all green and foggy, and you can't really see. And it's like it's like a kind of Cthulhu style. Its name is like kind of thing, and it's this sort of. It looks a bit like a pterodactyl, but it's underwater, and so the game just gets more and more crazy as it goes on, and it no longer is about just human pirates swimming around and like actual sharks. It's suddenly like this monster. And you at the end, you like encounter Neptune, who I think is not actually a baddie, but you know, it kind of jumps the shark or swims past it, if you will, and goes all strange, but really kind of a spooky game. Yeah.
God.
Ashton.
Sorry, I completely zoned out while you were talking. I was really trying to listen, and then I just got distracted by the idea of a big eel.
Yeah.
And just thought about that. So I'm sorry.
Wow.
I had the same problem. I should just say, actually, I had the same problem with Beyond Blue, which is that game that came out like a year or so ago, and is purely meant to be about nature.
Just chill.
It's meant to be pretty chill, but I swam over this reef over the edge, and suddenly it was just black underneath me. It was like deep, deep sea, and there was this sound of like there's this whole storyline of like underwater drilling that's like scaring the whales.
Yeah.
And as I swam over this like just void, I heard this really loud like, and like it made me want to like put my legs onto my chair. I was like, oh no, I don't like that at all.
Don't enjoy that.
And that was like one of the most disturbing experiences I've had in games for years, purely because of that whole like ocean fear that I have and many people have.
Yeah, the ocean is a scary place.
Yeah.
So a game that hasn't like scared me, that's meant to be spooky. I kind of don't know if I'm following all the rules here, because there's a game called The Medium, which came out a couple months ago, that is essentially a horror game, and you get followed by this big gangly creature. And I wasn't scared of the creature when I was playing the game. But then one night I had a lucid dream where the big creature just kind of walked into my room, and that really freaked me out. But that wasn't while the game was happening. That was like, you know, my subconscious just bringing that up in the middle of the night. But in terms of games that I actually got really spooked out by, and I don't know if this counts, because A Plague Tale is, I guess, slightly of a spooky adjacent game. Like, it's about
you've got
rats.
a horror game though, would you?
Yeah,
It's gothic,
no, I wouldn't call it.
But
I remember like when Plague Tale like first started, and like suddenly there was just all these rats that were really freaking me out. I remember just being a bit like this, like, ooh, and you just feel that whole in your body, just like, I don't want to be here. But then I quickly got past that. After I'd encountered thousands and thousands of rats, I was like, okay, this isn't going to stop. We're just going to keep going
I need
with
to
this.
get used to this.
But also a game that kind of made me feel like that tension, stress that you kind of feel when you're playing some horror games, of like they're psychologically messing with your brain, is Control. It's not like a spooky game, but there was a couple of points in it where I was a bit like, this is kind of scary. Like, I'm kind
really
of freaked
foreboding,
out
isn't it?
by this, and I kind of like I'm worried about what's going to happen when I open this next door. And obviously the color palette of it is very much like blacks and reds and grays, so it's quite kind of like muted, and then suddenly something big and horrible will appear, and you're like, this is nasty. There's a bit in like, I don't know if it's the Alan Wake DLC or if
The
it's
Alan Wake DLC was quite scary.
yeah. There's like a big creature that kind of is like following you through this area, and that is quite scary. Because there's quite a lot of times where they just turn. Oh, sorry, I did it too. Where they just turn all the lights off, and you have to try. If you're in the dark, this creature will just get you, because when it's in the light, it can't, and that's quite scary. So yeah, Control is one of the games that's kind of freaked me out a bit when it's not actually that spooky. But
I was reasonably spooked by The Order 1886.
Oh yeah,
was it a launch game for PS4? Very early on, anyway.
it's early, yeah.
And there's a bit in that because it's set in ye olde London, sort of Victorian times.
1886.
1880, yeah, well. Yes. And
wow,
you're,
you got told, Ben.
You're hunting like lichens and that kind of stuff. You're like part of
Wereboys.
Yeah, you're wereboys and women, and you're part of like a round table and that. And you bump into Nikola Tesla and stuff. It's all sort of alternate history, but it's really cool. I really like the setting, and I enjoyed the story too. Gameplay was terrible though, which is such a shame.
Yeah.
And now I think they're making mobile games. They were purchased by someone, whoever the developer was.
I really want them to make another game just in that universe. And
It feels like it would be a
job.
waste. Yeah, it's such wasted potential. However, there was a bit where you're chasing a werewolfy lichen thing through an abandoned hospital, an abandoned old hospital.
No.
And there's a bit where you're with one of your other round table lads, and they go in one direction. Like, right, you go check down there. and it's literally you look down the staircase. The stairs are all busted, so it's a one-way trip, and it's just blood like everywhere, and it's pitch black. You know, like I saw that and thought, really, really, really don't want to go down there. I really don't want to go down there. And that's, you know, that game has some spooky themes, but it's not a horror game.
No,
It's just the imagination. And then, of course, when I was a child, I was terrified by the opening of Final Fantasy VII. Not Sephiroth killing everyone, not the blood everywhere, not the impaling of the giant snake, but Aerith's polygonal face being illuminated by Mako energy and the music fading in, and that opening sequence scared the crap out of me. Really, really frightened me. Really frightened. No idea why. Really scared me. However, some horror games that have not affected me in the slightest. The Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah.
Not scary, not really. They're just loud sometimes. And equally, I would say the first few Resident Evil games, the ones that I've played. So Resi 3 Remake wasn't that scary. Resident Evil 1 Remake wasn't that scary either. Revelations 2, not scary at all.
I don't think Village was that scary, to be fair.
I'm trying to think through
The only bit
the
that
scariest
was
bits. The doll bit was a bit.
the baby
freaked
bit
me
was
out,
the only
yeah.
bit that I was like,
I
this
found that
is
genuinely
horrible.
disturbing.
Quite disgusting.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the game, I don't remember being like
No.
scared.
But I think the last two certainly have brought the horror back to the franchise.
7 definitely.
7
I
was
think.
pretty scary.
Was pretty
at times,
scary.
yeah.
But there we are. Those are my answers. Should we move on to the big discussion?
Let's
I
do
think
the
it's
big
time. It's time for the
discussion.
big discussion. Big discussion time. Time for the big discussion. This week's big discussion comes courtesy of Harold Bobbert Hawking, who says, "What's your biggest gaming regret? I fell into the microtransaction trap on one of the old NBA 2K games and would spend many of my hard-earned dollary dues weekly in an attempt to progress and potentially platinum the game." What a brilliant system they've got there. When the next 2K game launched, my hard-earned dollars spent became entirely redundant, and I became entirely sad boy.
Oh, Harold.
Sorry, Harold.
So sorry.
So, Peter, what would you say is your biggest gaming regret?
My biggest gaming regret is probably not owning an N64 / not also as a sideline to my PlayStation / brief venture into Xbox 360, but mostly PlayStation Run. It would have been nice just to have a Nintendo experience too. I think I played a fair bit of N64 with my friends, but I think I would have liked to have my own, liked to maybe have a GameCube. I had a Game Boy, but I didn't play it that much as a kid. I didn't really see the appeal. I can't play games in cars, for one thing, so I would never take it on a car journey. And generally, when my family would go on holidays, we wouldn't do a lot of just sort of sitting by the pool or sitting on a beach sort of holidays. We'd normally be out and about. So again, I wouldn't really take it on holiday with me. So never really had the Nintendo handheld experience. As I say, played N64 a bit with my friends, but never owned one, never had a GameCube. And I do look at things like Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. And I know that I could obviously just use the Office Switch and play that. But something else we've discussed recently, I think in the previous podcast or the one before, I'm very much one for not wanting to enter into a series unless I've played stuff beforehand. Even if a game...
Even Zelda.
Yeah, even if a game is like, you don't need to know anything about this. You know, they're not... You know, like Final Fantasy, for example, they're not really related to each other
Not
at
at
all.
all.
There's like a couple of... You know, you have your chocobos and
There's a couple of direct
Couple
sequels,
of-
but they're very clearly labeled.
yeah, and you have a few shared, you know, just little tropes or characters or creatures or whatever, but they're not the same thing. But I just don't like doing it. I don't know why. And so something like Breath of the Wild, I just feel like I don't want to play it until I've maybe experienced even just some of the big hitters like Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker.
The big hits, the classics.
Yeah.
All the classics.
And likewise, I've never really played a Mario game. I've certainly never owned one and played my own copy of one. I've played it at people's houses. I've played Mario Kart. I've played Mario 64. But you know, I feel like that's something that I am actually really missing out on. I don't worry about it, but if someone asks me what's a big gaming regret, probably that. I probably should just. I wish I had a bit more N64 or GameCube history to me. That would probably encourage me to play the Switch more. So that's that. And like there's a minor one as well, which is just trading in games generally that like later on I kind of feel like, oh, I wish I still had that. Especially some of my older ones. I kind of just wish that they're on my shelf, even if I would never play them. Just be like, oh yeah, there's that game that I enjoyed. Happy memories.
Yeah.
The memes.
Yeah.
I don't really have any like big regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets, as they say. I think normally it's just things like, oh, why did I spend so much time on that? Like, why did I spend so much time in Destiny 2? Because I went through a real phase last year during the lockdown of just playing Destiny 2 like all the time, and just sinking hours and hours into it and getting the best guns and stuff. And then within a week, they just like, we didn't play for 1 week and they just got rid of 3 planets, and all you got was just a couple of like on-screen paragraphs that were just like, the planet was destroyed and this character died, and you're like, huh? Was there no like cutscene that we could have been shown when we logged back into the game to let us all watch this, because we couldn't all be on at this certain time? And I remember Destiny 2 really wound me up. They did like they were like, our first live event. They're like, it's gonna be amazing. Be in the tower at 6 p.m. on this day. We were there at 6 p.m. In fact, we were there at 10 to 6. And we waited until about 6:30. And I was like, nothing is happening. And then on Twitter, everyone was like, oh, look, it is happening. You just have to look really, really hard in the sky. You can see these little dots appearing in the sky. And I was like, are you joking? Are you joking me? And we spent about an hour and a half just waiting for this thing to happen, because we'd invested at this point like 45 minutes in. And I was like, well, we can't, we're already invested now. Let's just go and make dinner and just watch it while it's like happening. Because all it was like, something was like plummeting to the ground. I think it would end of the season, so they'd like destroyed the big spaceship or something. And it was basically the spaceship like breaking apart and falling to the ground. Right. But it was so subtle for the first 45 minutes that everyone on Twitter was like, is something happening, or is something broken? What's going on? And one of the main like mods of the, I don't know, really big in the Discord, the Reddit and the Discord for Destiny 2 was like, it is happening, I promise. I've just asked them and they've told me it is happening right now. You just have to wait. And then it happened in the space of like 10 minutes, but it was so slow burn for like the first 45 minutes, if not like hour, that we were just like, this is stupid. And that is a big regret of mine, wasting a whole evening just to like not see anything happen.
Out of interest, what were you hoping? Like, what sort of scale?
Well, I didn't know, but the way that they like hyped it up, they were like, it's going to be amazing, because it was in like
Jesus Christ himself.
Jesus Christ himself. Well, they were like,
in the tower.
It's going to really change the game. And we were like, okay, well, we want to like be there. And then they didn't even do one for when they just got rid of 3 of the planets.
Come on,
guys. Please.
Guys. So I think after that point, we were like, I think maybe we should stop playing this game now.
We're done with that now.
I'm done with this game now.
It's going to change the game in that Ashton's going to stop playing.
I don't want to play it anymore. But yeah, I mean, I didn't like you were saying, I kind of would have wanted some more maybe gaming experience when I was little, but can't go back and change it now. So live your best life. No regrets, baby.
Hashtag no regrets.
No regrets. Ben, what's your biggest gaming regret?
I mean, I've got a few.
Oh.
In terms of pouring a load of time into a game which was ultimately pointless, as you did. The crashed nitro fueled remake. I played that pretty much every day for a few months, thereabouts, to like get all the rewards and do all the Grand Prix and unlock all the characters and stuff. And I don't think I've played it since, because the nature of that model is ultimately unsustainable, and I got burned out, and I'm glad to see the back of that game. I would never recreationally boot it up to play of my own accord ever again. I don't think. If people came over and wanted like a 4-player kart racer, then maybe I would boot it up then, because the muscle memory don't go away. However, the nature of that model ruined that game for me. In that it's still one of my favorite ever games, the original, but it just seems like such a colossal waste of time. Why did I bother unlocking all that stuff? Why? Never going to use it.
It was seemingly not skill-based matchmaking. I think now I read a headline that we were like Googling skill-based matchmaking the other day for a different video. And in the Google results, I saw one thing that said, Crash Team Racing now skill-based matchmaking from
but you don't have like
a year or so ago.
Can't, like, it's such a weird online system. You can't track your wins.
Like I said, I didn't read the thing, but it was a headline from like a year or so ago. And I imagine they just maybe they track wins internally and put people together who are constantly winning. But at the time, definitely within the first 6 months or year, I would estimate, if not more, you were just getting put against people who would just be a whole lap ahead of you. And you'd be like, I don't play to win, but when it's a racing game, what else is there? You play to like do well and have a competition and like be neck and neck with people in the first,
it's
first
not
4 places or whatever.
These are people who are literally doing the time trials for these games, and so they know the perfect lines. They know all the shortcuts. Yeah, and oftentimes they will. I was in a few races where they would finish so far ahead of everybody else that I would sometimes be in second place, and I was so far behind that I wouldn't even finish before the timer ran out.
Yeah.
Like they would just, it was just broken. It was broken online. So that was a waste of time. There were a couple of games that I got really excited about back in the day that ultimately were hugely disappointing. Unreal Tournament 3 was a game that was hyped up no end in a magazine that I was reading, and I had 2 of my friends come over. We'd all gone into town and we'd bought it that day, and like, let's come over to mine tonight. We'll have a sleepover and we'll play through Unreal Tournament. It's going to be this amazing co-op game. And then it's Unreal Tournament in exactly the fashion that you would expect, where it's just you're against bots, and there's like, I can't even remember what the story was, but it wasn't really there. It was just a progression of, now you go to this map and you try and
stringing together more death matches.
It's just a series of death matches. It was really rubbish. And also the Spider-Man 3 video game was not good. And I ended up selling that pretty shortly after. I poured a lot of time into a Facebook game for Infamous 2.
Oh.
That was a promotional Facebook game for Infamous 2 because it promised in-game rewards, sort of like cosmetic things, and they would give you you would do stuff in this Facebook game, you'd get codes for it that you could redeem. Spent a lot of time in it, and it was one of those stupid ones where you have to wait for your energy to refill before you can. It's like a point and click thing. You go around and you just click on stuff and fix it and do Cole's electric powers, just like Farmville. And you know what? Nobody got any codes. I had to email the support and say, look, I've been playing the hell out of this. What's the point? Why am I doing this? I'm not getting anything. And I think they sent me a code for like a shirt in game for the full release. And that was just, I suppose my regret is getting suckered in by promises that ultimately are not fulfilled. And that happens a lot in the games industry, sadly. I'd like to think I'm a bit more savvy about it now, but certainly when I was growing up, I believed the hype. I wanted to be excited, and now I'm cynical and shriveled up like a sad raisin, and I don't go for those things anymore. But certainly I used to, and they were never what was promised. Never.
Oh well.
And there we are.
We'll end on that, shall we?
Shriveled raisin.
All 3 of us
like
being
a
bit
shriveled, cynical raisin.
regretful and depressed.
No regrets.
No regrets
allowed.
No depression. Have you just tried being happy?
Have you tried just be
Why
happy?
don't you just be happy?
Yeah.
But let us know what your biggest gaming regrets are in the comments below and all over the internet where you can find us in various places. Peter's going to tell you a few of them right now.
I am. We're available at youtube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump. It's where all of our content goes out. Videos, of course, over on YouTube, but streams on YouTube and Twitch. When we are streaming on both of those platforms, we're modded by Lobrotovich, Trowling Badger, and Mr. Black. Hey, speaking of Twitch, did you know that Amazon Prime, one of the many rewards on that is that you get a free Twitch sub bundled in, so you can spend that on us if you like. You'll get all the usual benefits of that. Twitter and Facebook.com/Team TripleJump for our social media presence. Twitter is mainly for video and live stream announcements. Facebook for legacy video content, occasional Facebook lives.
I did a live stream this week.
Yeah.
I've not done it yet.
No,
But I
at
will
the time
be
of
doing.
recording, but we'll be doing it.
When did you do that? I don't remember you doing that.
And patreon.com/Team TripleJump is available to go and have a look at all our Patreon rewards, including asking questions on the podcast and things like that. Ashton?
We have a website. It's triplejut.mup. That's triplejut.mp. And if you want to go there, there's so much cool stuff. Why don't find out what our 3 favorite games are by going to the team page? If you want to check out our Discord, we have one of those. It's triplejut.mup/Discord. We're modded by Jack, Tori, and Holloweyes, 3 amazing people. We have a podcast. Don't know if you've noticed.
What?
That's what this is.
What?
But if you've watched it and you think, oh, I want to listen to this again, maybe when I'm out walking my cats. Well, don't you whiz-was? You can do that. TripleJump.
Don't you what, sorry?
Whiz-was.
Don't you whiz-was?
Don't you
Uh-huh. Don't you
I
whiz-was?
thought I misheard that, but you did say whiz-was.
I did.
Don't you whiz-was?
Don't you whiz-was? You can go TripleJump.mup/podcast to find out all the places that you can listen to it. And if you want to watch some of our live streams, but you've missed them because maybe you've got a busy job working and doing all good things for your life, then you can watch our VODs on TripleJump.mup/VODs. Watch all of the live streams back. There's like 5 a week, so don't want to miss out on those. We also have a shop where we got brand new merch. Ooh. Ben's wearing some. Peter's wearing some.
Peter's wearing two.
It's not new merch.
You can't buy that one that Peter's wearing anymore.
You can't buy that. But you can go to TripleJumpShop.com to look at all the new merch and buy the stuff. And if you want to find out what's coming out and new t-shirts and things that might be released on time around Christmas potentially,
Hopefully.
you can go to TripleJump Shop on Twitter.
There you go. Why not follow Peter and Ashton on Twitter and Instagram at that Peter Austin and at Scrambled Ashton, and myself just on Twitter at confused_dude. We do lists every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Thursday being the joint streams, Blaze it on YouTube. The rest of the weekdays being solo streams on Twitch. Worst Games Ever is fortnightly, Friday for patrons of a certain tier, Sunday for everyone else. The podcast is every Saturday, and we do shows once every other week or thereabouts. We got so much coming out for you guys. So flipping much. And I'm going to tell you about it in just a second. Why not leave a review on iTunes or your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms. Guys, you can stop dancing.
That's the rhythms.
Right.
There, they're done.
If you weren't watching the video, you missed out. There was non-stop dancing all throughout that
was.
entire season.
It was
Pretty good.
This week, well, firstly, TripleJump.gg. Go buy some currencies and subscriptions and that sort of... You're right. You want to make a bit more noise there, Ashton?
Don't challenge me.
Additionally, the Tat Appeal is now open. The floodgates are down. Go and watch the video on our channel. All about it. If you want to post some tat to us, or if you want to send us some worse games, that kind of stuff, the cutoff is the 19th of November. So please send it before then.
Post some tat.
Yeah.
To us.
Tat.
To us.
And we'll do a big Christmas unboxing. Obviously, we couldn't do it last year, but we did do it the year before, and you're all amazing then. So we're going to try and do that again. If you want to take part, let us know. There's a spooky rules boss that went out on Friday. It's spooky.
Terrifying.
What was it, Peter? What did we do?
We played,
You
played Resident Evil Village with a steering wheel and
Pedals.
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 I was going to say speakers then.
Foot
there's
drums.
foot speakers. Yeah. Well, I won't spoil what he had to do, but he had to play that game like that.
It was
And it was
challenging.
hard.
That's for sure.
I just laughed the whole way through. I didn't contribute anything really.
Well, you
Just
set
giggled
up.
my
You
whole
set
way.
Set it up
I did
for
set
about
it
2
up.
days.
It took me a long time.
Get that blooming steering wheel working. And didn't it work so well?
Uh-huh.
Additionally, the launch games playing every videos are back this week. Later on tonight, if you're listening at the second of release, that being Saturday evening when this video goes live. PS2, playing all the PS2 launch games. Go give it a watch. I think it's the longest one yet. So go and get on it. Additionally, the very first episode for everybody of Weirdest Games Ever. What did we play, Ashton?
We played Disney Extreme Skate Adventure. Ooh.
It was strange.
It was strange and weird.
It was a bit weird. And we've already recorded next month's episode of
And
Weirdest
it's
Games
even
Ever.
weirder.
And I don't know if we'll get
My
demonetized
God.
for it.
We may well get
Flipping
demonetized.
heck. It is something else.
Here's a fun fact. Did you know that Disney Extreme Skate Adventure was submitted to us via the Tat Appeal, the previous Tat
there
Appeal?
we go.
If you've got any weird games, do you think it's not
You can
bad,
send us worst
it's just
games
a bit
and weird
weird,
games.
you should send it to us by the tap pill.
Send us all your games. Send us everything you own. That's
Gimme.
what we're asking you to do.
Gimme.
Additionally, After Dark, Triple Jump After Dark podcast episode 3 went up on Monday for patrons. If you want to go get that, where we talk about everything but games, then go consider supporting us at patreon.com/team Triple Jump.
What kind of things did we talk about this week, Ben? Do you remember?
Some real hot topics.
Some real hot goss. We talked about what we'd be doing if we weren't in this job. We talked about other stuff. So yeah.
I feel like there were three
Content that
questions in a row
we-
that were all a bit like, oh, but I don't remember any of
Spicy.
them.
One was
Yeah,
like
it's
content we
good.
shouldn't have seen when we were young, but we
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Yeah,
And how
it's
that's
good.
affected
Go
us.
go check it out. Remember, it's not the sole reason for your support on Patreon. You get everything else at that tier and below it. So it's just a perk. Go get it. Go get involved. Finally, something that's not on your guys that I added. We are in a video game.
We are.
We have. It's not House of the Dead. We're working on that.
No.
However, we did manifest destiny, and we provide voices for 3 minor characters in a video game called Trouble Hunter Chronicles: The Stolen Creed, which is a point-and-click adventure game available now on Steam.
3 little French teenagers.
Yeah, if you want to hear us do a French
being
accent,
ruffians.
we're not very good at it.
Not
We're not rules boss or anything.
No.
But it is available now on Steam, so try and find us if you if you
Emulation's in it too.
Emulation is in it, yes, off of the Jungle Skog.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you like old school point and click adventures, you'll get a lot out of it. So go support a small indie dev and try and find us in there.
Yeah, the first person who sends us a video of us in the game because they played it, they get 6 Ashton points.
Oh, okay. That's
Wow,
fine.
really?
Yeah. Those are hard to come by.
They are. I don't think you've ever given any
Yeah, I
out.
don't
I
have
gave
all.
some out on stream this week
Oh, did
Did
you?
you?
because someone helped me figure out where I was at in the game.
How
and
many
helped
did you
me
give out?
Don't know how many Ashton
I think I
points.
gave like 7.
Oh.
What do we have to do to get Ashton points?
Well, not slag me off on the podcast to start.
Well, looks like we're not going to get any ever then, are we?
No.
Minus 100 points.
Never mind. Gryffindor. Ashton, what is the sponsor before we go
The sponsor
home?
for this week's podcast is, of course, the Xbox Egg Box for your mini fridge.
Of course.
For your Xbox mini fridge, you can get your Xbox Eggs Box.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for listening / watching, everybody. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. There's a whole week of spooky content coming out next week, including a ranked list. It'll be a worst games ever week with another spooky game.
Spooky 10-point lists as well.
So yeah, some spooky 10-point lists. So there's all sort. In fact, I think we can
A
probably say
spooky
what the
stream.
ranked list is. There's going to be a spooky stream. Yeah, it's we're ranking every Ghostbusters game from worst to best.
Makes
on
me feel
Monday.
bad.
So go and check that out. So much content coming your way, including an episode of Main Menu next week as well. All sorts of stuff. But we're going to go now. Look forward to it. Subscribe on YouTube. We love you. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you, bye.